Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome back to Red's Homestead. It is going to be cold, very, very cold tomorrow. I know.
And I'm like immune to the cold.
Yeah, he usually is out here with no shirt on in 40-degree weather if he wants to be, but it's cold right now, but it's going to be really cold tomorrow, single digits. Normally, 20s is okay. 20s is fine for any of the animals, as long as everything's nice and tight inside. But single digits, now all the animals need attention. First step, I've got to get this plastic set back up. That's done. So that will keep them plenty toasty in there now, because they bunch together anyways and get each other the body warmth, so they stay plenty warm. Plus I have the deep litter method going on in there. That's also a little bit warmer. It'll be single digits, and then that soil deep litter will be at least 40 degrees, if not more. So it gives off a little bit of heat. Last thing I want to make sure I do is, before it freezes, get all their waters done. Here in the afternoon, it's still a little above freezing, so I can do their waters, and then tomorrow morning, all I have to do is break the ice. We have multiple waters out here. We have one that's sitting on top of that little thing. That's for the chickens only, even though they don't really use that one. But we put it up there so it stays clean from the ducks. But it's there if they need it. Obviously, we have the big pool for the ducks. And we have 3 ground waters as well for the chickens and the ducks. And we use the little rubber bowls, the ones that if it does freeze, it doesn't crack. The rabbits are pretty simple. 20 degrees isn't that bad. Single digits gets a little cold for them, especially up here. What I just do is I make sure that they have extra hay inside the cages. And the ones that on the tractors have their own cubby hole, so they are completely out of the wind and they're just fine in single digits. It's really all for the rabbits. They'll make their own little burrow, or they'll just push it to the bottom of the cage or to the sides to block the drafts if it is bothering them. And then one thing I make sure we do for them is we fill up about 3 or 4 things of actual water, and we keep it inside the well house where it stays in the 40s or 50s, so these won't freeze, so we'll have plenty of water to give them in the morning. We also keep extra water bottles inside there, so we just switch them out instead of waiting for it to thaw. We also had a pretty big nest that they made on the ground of eggs, and they got a really nasty, we don't wash our eggs, but those would have to be washed. So instead of going through the process of washing them, because we're pretty good on eggs right now, extra protein. So extra food, extra protein, get their metabolism really jamming for tonight, keeps them even warmer. See, it's 32 outside and 71 inside the greenhouse. That greenhouse heater is doing absolutely amazing. I mean, come on. That's almost a 40-degree difference between outside and inside, and that's just a cheap greenhouse. So as promised, it is cold. It's about 13 degrees this morning. Everything is in fact frozen. Luckily, I had those waters inside the well house so that I can give the animals fresh water. We'll come back later and try to break these things open. So it has raised up to a blistering 20 degrees. And let me show you something that's really cool. It is, it's hard to see. I don't want to open her up, but this says 59 degrees in the greenhouse. Now that the sun is up and hitting it, it's gonna get over 70 degrees in that greenhouse and not even be over 30 outside. So far, that thing's working awesome. Rabbits, you did just fine. Some of you made a nest. Others just pushed it all the way out underneath. Made a big mess, but hey, you're still warm and alive. I changed out your water bottle, so you're good to go.
And then a couple days later, he went psycho.
Spring is right around the corner, and it's time to start planting this garden. We're changing it up entirely. We used to just have 3 rows that are about 40 feet long. We're gonna change it up so that I can do a better fence around the entire garden. Something I have to think about is I have to get a 4-wheeler through this gate pulling a trailer, at least until we get our gate set up on the other side over there. So for now, I'm gonna be starting it a little bit further out over there, but keeping these pretty long. Gotta change some things up. And we are back in a whole nother morning, and it is nasty outside. So fortunately can't really do anything more out here. Even letting the dogs out's a chore because they get all muddy and you gotta wash them off. So we're gonna be spending most of the day indoors. But one thing I do need to mention is now that deer season is over, and I did finally get a second deer. So I had 2 deer in the freezer. Unfortunately, that second deer I got that night, or in the evening, and so I couldn't track it down that night, so I had to go the next morning, and unfortunately a coyote got half of it, but I was able to salvage half of it and put it in the freezer. But these nasty days that are still cold, I mean, it's about 40, but yes, springtime is still right around the corner, so got seeds started inside. And I'm also going to make some kombucha and maybe some jelly with the rest of the blackberries, since this season we hope to have even more blackberries, plus the raspberries that we have growing on the fence should start to fruit this year. Since we're stuck to doing stuff indoors, I've got a huge pot of broth cooking. That's hot. I've got blackberries thawing out to get ready to make some jam. This is my kombucha started. I'm gonna cover it with the cheesecloth and let it ferment for a few days before I bottle it up, and maybe that's a success. I don't know. We're gonna taste it later and see. And we also have our seeds started, and you can see they're starting to do pretty good. So even though we may be stuck inside today, we're gonna get some stuff done. So we are back a couple days later, and I'm actually kind of worried this thing's gonna explode. I've never fermented in a glass bottle before, so I came outside because this is blackberry. It'll stain everywhere, and we're gonna test it out. It should be ready. Okay, that's almost like champagne. That sounds perfect. It tastes perfect. I actually did it. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit more into the recipe of what it is. So it was about 2 cups of blackberries, smashed up together, and I put it in 6 cups of water. Then I added about, I don't know, 2 or 3 tablespoons of sugar. And then I stirred it for 3 days. And I did it probably 5 to 10 times a day until it finally started frothing and I was able to taste it, and it tasted pretty good. Once that happened, I bottled it, and then I let it carbonate inside of this bottle. And I did that, and this is for 2 days, and I finally popped it open today. Perfect carbonation.